On with us as we're tracking some other crucial information. We're now learning that the Taliban spokesperson has stated that peace talks between Afghanistan and Pakistan have collapsed, although a ceasefire along their shared border remains in effect. Zabiullah Mujahid has stated that negotiations failed after Islamabad demanded Afghanistan to take responsibility for Pakistan's internal security, a demand that Kabul has called beyond its capacity. Meanwhile, Pakistani Defence Minister Khwaja Mohammad Asif has earlier stated that the Istanbul talks aimed at preventing renewed border clashes and these had failed. He noted that the ceasefire would hold as long as no attacks came from Afghan territory. There was a brief exchange of fire between Afghan and Pakistani troops on Thursday, which came as negotiations had resumed in Istanbul. Afghan forces had in fact put out a statement that 5 civilians had lost their lives. In fact, last month when the hostilities escalated along the 2,600 long border between Afghanistan and Pakistan, dozens have been killed. It of course marks the worst violence since the Taliban returned to power in 2021. Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Mohammad Osman. Interesting updates coming in because there were murmurs that Kabul was seeking 3 guarantees from Pakistan. Kabul sought that Pakistan would not violate Afghanistan airspace, would prevent US drones from operating through its territory, and would ensure that ISIS-linked groups were not allowed to use Pakistani soil to strike Afghanistan. On the other hand, Afghanistan had reiterated its position that it would not allow anyone to use its soil to attack Pakistan. In light of this, what could have been some of the considerations for both sides not seeing eye to eye? Is it just a matter between the two countries, or is there a larger game at play?
I think there's a much larger geopolitical dimension to these tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan, Pia, because the sticking points that both countries are discussing right now are nothing new. The Taliban itself is a Pakistani creation, as you might very well know, and
yes,
even the main sponsor of Islamic fundamentalism in Afghanistan historically is Pakistan, unfortunately, and also the problematic relationship as of late between the Afghan Taliban regime and the government of Pakistan over the support Afghanistan grants to the Pakistani Taliban, the TPP, the Tehrik Taliban, is nothing new. This is not news. I believe that the actual cause behind this flare-up between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and why Pakistan has decided to take a much more violent approach to how it deals with Afghanistan, is Afghanistan's choice to lead an independent foreign policy and actually expand its scope of partnerships. We have seen the Taliban government engage very positively with countries like China and Russia. Both are friends of Pakistan, but however, Pakistan was not very happy with that, but they could swallow that. But it wasn't a coincidence that the flare-up took place and the clashes actually broke out when the Afghan foreign minister was visiting New Delhi.
yes,
And when India decided to open an embassy in Kabul. So to Pakistan, this was a crossing of a red line, because historically, before the collapse of the Afghan state and its descent, and before it descended into the rule of Islamic fundamentalists for the past decades, Afghanistan was a very strong ally of India historically. And also, Afghanistan always coordinated its policies with India to contain Pakistan one way or the other. So Pakistan is really concerned that Afghanistan, especially in light of Operation Sindoor and the latest clashes between India and Pakistan, that they might reform some sort of partnership or alliance once more that would leave Pakistan strategically surrounded one way or the other. So I believe that these clashes basically was Pakistan sending a message to the Afghans that if you try to do that, we're going to go to war. We're not going to let that happen. Khwaja Asif, the Pakistani Minister of Defense, a very entertaining official, I would give him that, he threatened the Afghans that he will send them back to the caves. This is the words that he just said. So it's rather really ironic, Pia, to see Pakistan now reaping what they sowed. Basically, the Taliban and the entire phenomena of Deobandi Islamic extremism inside Afghanistan was sponsored by Pakistan for decades. However, now Pakistan is suffering from that in so many ways.
Indeed, a quick follow-up to that, the Afghans did mention about the Americans, their concerns with the Americans. We've seen that in the aftermath, as you pointed out, of Operation Sindoor, there's been a sort of pivot in the American position as far as Pakistan is concerned. In fact, one of their key leaders of the CENTCOM, General Kurilla, was seen visiting Asim Munir just a few months back as well. Given Afghanistan's geopolitical and geographic importance, what plan does the United States have? How does Pakistan sort of figure into that? US is of course eyeing the Bagram Air Base, and how does China also fit in? Because we do know that both on one hand, yes, China is investing in Pakistan as far as CPEC is concerned, but Afghanistan is also party to the BRI.
Exactly. Afghanistan is very important to China as much as it is as much as Pakistan. And as you just said, General Munir, basically the de facto leader of Pakistan, has been pushing his country, pivoting once again towards the United States after they were growing closer and closer to China. And even Pakistan and many experts attribute Pakistan's relatively good performance, some would say, during the latest confrontation with India to Chinese support. But now the Pakistan seems to be giving all the credit over everything to the Americans. They nominated the President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, and they don't seem to be very committed at the moment, at least overtly, to their partnership with China. And at the same time, India has had its sheer disagreements with the United States over the issue of tariffs, over sanctions on Russia and on Russian oil, and also Pakistan and India, India and China are in a process of reconciliation. So Pakistan is basically feeling left out in this calculus. And Pakistan, it's no secret that Pakistan has always provided a platform for the Americans to target Islamic militants inside Afghanistan, even after the Americans withdrew from Afghanistan in 2021. And now it seems the Pakistanis are trying to reestablish their partnership with the Americans once more, maybe move a bit further, while not abandoning the Chinese, but moving a bit further from them, especially that the rapprochement between China and India at the moment will not make China a strategic counterweight to India as it used to be. And of course, it's no secret that India outmatches Pakistan in every aspect, militarily and economically. So they always need an ally to support them in any future confrontation with India. And they also need to keep Pakistan subjugated to, keep Afghanistan subjugated to Pakistani influence, so that in case of any future confrontation with India, which is very probable, by the way, Afghanistan would not be a thorn in Pakistan's back.
Absolutely. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time, of course, sharing your analysis with all of us over here. Meanwhile, viewers, we're shifting focus to more news coming in. We're now learning that the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Philippine Senator Ronald De La Rosa, who is the former police chief who led the controversial war on drugs under President Rodrigo Duterte. De La Rosa was held a key role in implementing Duterte's anti-narcotics campaign, has been accused of complicity in the deaths of thousands of suspected drug users and peddlers during the operation, which has drawn international condemnation for alleged human rights violations. The former president, Duterte, who held office from 2016 to 2022, was arrested and taken to The Hague in March under an ICC warrant linking him to the same murders. Now, ICC's actions have marked a significant step in pursuing accountability for the violence that occurred during the highly controversial anti-drug campaign in Philippines. More news coming in, this time from Tanzania. We're now learning that Tanzania has moved to arrest senior opposition figures held responsible for deadly protests during last week's presidential and parliamentary elections. The main opposition party, Chadema, and some human rights activists have stated that security forces killed more than 1,000 people, and the government has called those numbers exaggerated without offering its own statistics. Meanwhile, the Tanzanian police has listed 10 people who are wanted in connection with their investigation of the unrest, which came a day after prosecutors charged 145 people with treason. The police, meanwhile, has stated that in collaboration with other defense and security agencies, they are continuing a serious manhunt to find all who had planned, coordinated and executed these demonstrations. Well, viewers, due to paucity of time, this is all we have for